UFOs are real, burgeoning and not going away. I am your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. This is a very special UFO update. So much is going on in the news. The UFO stuff is sort of taking the back seat, and rightfully so, to the ongoing events unfolding in the Middle East, and maybe we'll touch that over on our Rumble channel, but not this week. Maybe next week. We'll see what happens. Anyway, we'll get into this, but first, a word from our trusted sponsor. Did you know one of the leading reasons skin begins to sag and form wrinkles isn't necessarily because of old age, but because our bodies are missing out on essential collagen? Folks, we produce 10% less collagen every decade once we hit 30, and that's a major reason behind those pesky wrinkles. That's why, along with 10,000s of other people, we've all turned to this cutting-edge new substance to help reduce visible signs of aging. It uses the top 5 most researched types of collagen, which is essential for skin health, to support skin elasticity and skin hydration. The best part I love is you get 53% off for the rest of the month, or until they sell out, whichever comes first. Folks, get yours now by going to www.healthwithla. Once again, that's www.healthwithla.com, healthwithla.com. I promise you, you won't regret it. I take it every day. I want to talk to you about this book, Further Evidence. We republished it. There's no new material in it, so if you've already got it, bully for you. Many of you don't have it. You need to read this book. You need to give it to your loved ones. It's personal testimonies from people. A lot of research went into the book. I'm going to read one question and answer that I did with a man by the name of Ricky Sorrell. He's gone, not missing, but he's gone under the radar. He no longer will do interviews. In fact, I watched on Netflix the other day a documentary on the Stevensville Lights, and some of the people in the documentary were people that I interviewed already. So this is, it's up to date. Nothing has changed. Something happened at Stevensville, and I want to get into that. Before I do, this is the table of contents, just to give you an idea. And by the way, we are running a special. So if you buy this book, the first 100 people will get absolutely free. It's a special. You'll get our UFO 70-year disclosure book. Why am I doing this? To get the word out. To get the word out. There's a lot of information in this, and of course, when you get 2 books, if you've already got the UFO disclosure book, give it to a friend, give it to your pastor. And if you won't read it, you got to scratch your head and go, it's breaking, it's happening, it's in the news, it's everywhere. UFOs are real. In fact, I may have seen one last night. I get up around 6:30. I take Mr. Wrinkles, our pooch, out. I noticed a light in the sky, no noise, no red flashers at all. And it went like this, very, very slow, and moved. It was a good distance away, very far away. Was not a satellite. Did not go to LAX, but there were no blinking lights on it. No sound, no blinking lights. I did rebuke first and ask questions later. Stuff is happening, and this is why we reprinted this book. It's that important. I got held up in the briars, and that's when I looked up and saw it, and it made no noise. The trees didn't move or the leaves blow away. Ricky Sorrell, Stevensville Lights. Dr. David Jacobs. I went into sort of a shock tailspin. I realized that the abductions were real. I said to myself, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, repeatedly for about 6 months. You see, once you get into this and you realize that the phenomena with all of its different parts are real, it's mind-numbing. And it's not demonic delusion. There can be some demonic delusion. They can put false memories in you. I get that. But it's not either or, it's both and in our wheelhouse and what we promulgate here. They had me on a cold steel table and used different tools to do a variety of different procedures on me. They were feathers, 2 wings that came out to points. His eyes were sunk into his head. He had what looked like a robe that went down to his hips. That's Lawrence Gray on Seeing the Mothman. Maybe I'll read that next week because it's an unbelievable testimony. He is the only man that ever had a victory over the Mothman. This thing appeared to him. The one before that on the cold table, that's Karina Sables. She was a lifelong abductee. So that just whets your appetite, hopefully. To give you an idea, I'm just going to hit the table of contents real quick. Dr. David Jacobs, Karina Sables, the abduction phenomena, Stevensville Lights, Ricky Sorrell, Whitney White Ashley was a reporter who covered this whole story. She comes in a documentary. Well, we interviewed her well in advance of a documentary. How about that? Cattle Mutilations, Chuck Zukowski and Butch Witkowski. Interview with David Stinnett, he's no longer with us, MUFON investigator. Dr. Roger Lear, he's passed away also. Missing Time, Richards passed away. So some of these testimonies you can't find anywhere else, but they're in this book, lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net. UFO sightings, interview with Gary Stearman. There's also a color photo section to give you an idea right here. So it's really a cool book. It's a great primer because what it does is it covers all the different aspects, in some ways, of the UFO phenomena. It covers the abductions, the cattle mutilations, the human mutilations, UFO sightings, hybrids, I mean, all sorts of stuff. So I want to get into the Stevensville lights. Here we go. The UFO flap that happened in Stevensville, Texas in the early part of 2008 might be one of the most talked about UFO cases in history. Multiple witnesses in and around the town of Stevensville saw the event. According to these multiple witnesses, a large craft, perhaps as large as 1 mile long. Let's just stop right there. When you see something like this, it's an absolute game changer. Absolute game changer. Was seen in the sky. It later appeared again, and according to some of the witnesses, it was chased by F-15s. The UFO flap caused a sensation, needless to say, as it was picked up by various news media. A group of people were assembled on the Larry King show, including via satellite, were witnesses from Stevensville. The History Channel sent a team of researchers to investigate, and more recently, the Discovery Channel covered it all. So Ricky Sorrell has disappeared. The phone number I had for him does not work. He will not give interviews. We have an exclusive right here. So here we go. Ricky Sorrell is one of the witnesses who saw a very large UFO in Stevensville, Texas. I have talked to him on the phone on more than a half a dozen occasions. I have always found him to be forthright in his telling of what he saw. He has never added or embellished his story. Sorrell told me that he looked in all directions and couldn't see the edge of the mile-wide ship. It was that big. Well, on the Larry King show, Stanton Friedman commented on the size of the ship reported by other witnesses. Friedman called it a mothership. I have been on various shows discussing the Stevensville lights. I wasn't there and can't say what these people saw. I will say this, however. I believe what Mr. Sorrell told me. Here is the interview, judge for yourself. This is the transcript of a telephone interview that I did with Mr. Sorrell. L.A., can you describe what you saw, Ricky? Or I'll just call him Mr. Sorrell. It was almost at the top of the treetops. It was huge. At one point, I looked over my head and felt vulnerable. It had cones. They were going up into the craft, inverted cones. The bottom was 10 feet wide of the cones. The top was less than 5 feet. It was huge, really big. I couldn't see the edge or the end of it when I looked as far as I could to my right. As far as I could look to my left, it was as far out as I could see, straight out from me. No shadows, that was the strange part. When I first saw it, my brain was jumping all over the place. I had to slow my mind down to study the craft, the only thing I could do. L.A., when was this? Ricky, it was after Christmas, right before January 1st. L.A., what was the weather like that day? Ricky Sorrell, it was a no overcast sky, clear cover, perfect for deer hunting. I was out deer hunting. I enjoy hunting. I looked at my oak trees and the sun behind it, grabbed my gun and took off walking through the woods. L.A., what time of the day was this? Ricky Sorrell, it was in the late afternoon. L.A., what did the craft look like? It had the cones on the bottom. They were evenly spaced, maybe 40 to 50 feet apart. So evenly spaced. I don't know if the craft was rectangular or round because I never saw the edges of it. One of the cones began to move. I looked at the whole ship, then all the cones were moving. L.A., how far was it from you? Ricky Sorrell, roughly 300 feet. I walked underneath it. I can't believe I was dumb enough to walk underneath it. I was looking for deer. I have a blind in the trees. I got held up in the briars, and that's when I looked up and saw it, and it made no noise. The trees didn't move or the leaves blow away. Something else happened. It took off at a 45-degree angle away from me. I would have figured that one edge would have lifted up, but the craft remained flat. I had my eyes on the cones. I was trying to find bits and pieces of the craft. Did you ever see the top of it? Ricky Sorrell, I never did see the top of it. L.A., can you describe any other details of it? The color was like an old weathered barnwood, a gray color. What were you thinking at the time? Ricky Sorrell, I was looking at it and thinking to myself, I have to study this thing. Then I thought about shooting it, but then I caught myself as I thought, if they can do this, fly and everything, then I don't need to be shooting it. It had a mirage around it. I picked up my rifle and looked in my scope. This is really a cool detail. I had my sight on max power. I had to readjust the scope, and that's when I saw the vapor or mirage. The air was shimmering around the craft. In my mind, it had to have that to fly, to hover. I don't know. It was all the way around the craft. The weird part about it was, if you looked at a fish in clear stream, you know there's water there. But then as you look at the fish, the water kind of disappears. LA, were you afraid? Ricky Sorrell, I wasn't scared. I had one thought as I was walking back to the house. What was it that I saw? Did they want to do something to me? But then I thought, if they had wanted to do something, they would have done it. LA, you mentioned to me in another phone conversation that you have seen it again. Can you elaborate? Ricky Sorrell, I cut wood. I looked across my field and I saw the craft. It was traveling from west to east, and I seen it come in and go out, appear and then disappear. It would just vanish and reappear as it flew in a straight line. LA, can you tell me about the unmarked helicopters that flew over your house? Ricky Sorrell, they were in a grid pattern. There were 3 smaller and 1 larger helicopter. I got tired of it, the noise and all. I had a spotlight in my truck. I went out there and grabbed a spotlight and I put it on them. I saw the pilot in the helicopters. It was in his eyes. They went and then came at my house. They shined a light on me. I figured I was in trouble and then went back into the house. LA, were you threatened in any way? Ricky Sorrell, I don't know what the helicopters were doing. They came right over my house. I've seen helicopters before, but never over my house. After I saw the craft was when the helicopter showed up. LA, how has this event changed your life? Ricky Sorrell, now I'm pretty religious. Maybe God built another world somewhere else. There had to be someone to build the thing. If I never know who built it, it's okay. I don't know where it came from. I know that it's not the government. So let me just go here. This is the close. In my opinion, Soros comes with a clean slate. In other words, he has no agenda. He isn't anyone who was seeking publicity, and until he had his encounter, he wasn't a believer in UFOs. He was a man who was out deer hunting and intersected with a mothership. The Stevensville UFO flap is alarming to me because of the size of the craft. Put yourself in Ricky Sorrell's shoes. Can you imagine looking overhead and seeing a craft that is so large you can't see the edge of it? When I referenced portions of this interview on a radio show, it was dismissed because Sorrell is not a trained witness. This is the way the game is played. Oh, he's not a trained witness, blah, 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 blah. He knows what he saw. He's telling me the truth. He's telling you the truth. Mile-wide craft. I find this line of reasoning belittling. Is Sorrell making all this up to seek publicity? Is he delusional? Is he a man caught up in a phenomenon that he doesn't quite understand? And from the time I spent with Ricky Sorrell, I believe it is the latter. Something is appearing in the skies over Stevensville, Texas. If it is a mothership, as those like Stanton Friedman have called it, then how does this affect us? How does it change what we believe? How will we deal with this new paradigm that is being thrust upon us? And there are some links. Maybe next week I will read the Whitney White Ashley interview, because that's interesting also. She was the reporter who was there and actually interviewed many of the witnesses. She's also fired from her job. How does that work? For getting maybe a little too close. That's how the game was played in 2008. It's unbelievable. Lots has changed. But we reprinted this book. It was out of print for a long time. Most of you have never seen this. There's so much information. Heck, the Mothman story is worth it just to hear what happened with that, with Lawrence Gray. Unbelievable story. And maybe I'll read that in the coming weeks. Right now, again, we've got the special. The first 100 people will receive further evidence, plus our UFO disclosure book, the 7-year cover-up exposed. That's it. It's all we can do. Get the word out. Give it to your pastor. Give it to your loved ones. Pass the book around. UFOs are manifesting, and we get a mother-wide chip that just hovers someplace. That is the ultimate game changer. Folks, the Israel trip was canceled for obvious reasons. I've already talked about it. We have no date at all in the near future about rescheduling. Things really need to quiet down, and they have not. And we're sort of at a pause, and we're not sure where this thing's going to go. So the Lord was merciful and gracious to us, and we never even got to Atlanta. We were going to go from the Prophecy Watchers Conference over to Atlanta, bivouac there for a night, and then fly to Israel. We never did that. Remember, folks, the first 100 people that buy Further Evidence will also get our UFO book absolutely free. I can't do more than that. You know, we're trying to get the word out. Thanks so much for subscribing. We'll see you back here tomorrow with another episode of, I'm not sure what we're going to post, but we'll post something. Thanks for watching. Remember, UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away.